Assassin's Creed 2 is one of the games that defined my childhood and further developed my interest in video games, so it would seem appropriate for me to take a look at it with my modern vision and see if it's good or just my nostalgia blinding me from the truth. As we're taking a look at the game, it would seem appropriate to start with the graphics, which are close to par for the time. The textures in the buildings are clear, but not too heavily detailed, and the models of the people aren't terrible. The lip syncing lines up most of the dialogue, but the fingers always throw me off. They seem like they're so much worse than the rest of the model, all boxy and sausage-like, especially when you compare it to Batman Arkham Asylum and Borderlands, which are both games that came out the same year. The models don't distract too much from the actual gameplay, but when they zoom into the hands during the cutscene, it's quite noticeable. To continue the theme of senses, I suppose we should talk about how it sounds. The voice acting is mostly good, with hints of emotionless robots from just minor NPCs. The dialogue is well written, with some of it being comedic and some of it being funnily stupid. There's also some serious parts that have some serious emotion behind them that feel pretty real. The music adds a very subtle backdrop to the game and adds to most of the scenes, going from soft calming music while just traveling through the city to filling with action and excitement as you fight. There's also some excellent music that helps build suspense during the cutscenes. The sound effects themselves are very clear and well mixed, helping bring the combat and climbing to life, helping you feel the rocks pummel the building you're climbing as you run away from the consequences of sleeping with a noble's daughter. Next sense I suppose would be touch. So how does the game feel? I tried asking it, but I'm not trained enough to digest what it told me, so I'll just tell you how it feels to play. The stealth is very simple, with line of sight being the most important thing, and sound only mattering when you're running full sprint at a guard, and by the time they realize something's even wrong, they have a knife in their gut. So I suppose the best way to describe it would just be that the guards have cataracts and hearing loss from years of scouting.
Shoot! Shoot the flying demon!
And staring at the sun as they try to do it. It's not very difficult to navigate and stay out of sight, but the game does change it up by giving you access to blending later on. Except there isn't a dedicated key to it like the previous title, which is an improvement. Instead, you just go into a group and you'll blend. There are throwing knives like the previous title, but they're not one-shots, so generally they aren't worth using. So it's best to just walk up and stab someone with the hidden blades. If you get caught, then there's combat, which is a bit more complicated. You have a few weapons to select, but only 3 to pick from without pulling up a radial menu. Hidden blades, sword, and fists. Of the weapons you can select, each has different speed and animation sets. But I found myself just using counters and disarms with any weapon, because most enemies just flat out most effective to deal with them. The combat also has the enemies gather around you and only one attack at a single time, giving you easy opportunity to just keep countering each one as they swing at you. But none of that bothers me. It makes you feel like a combat god, even if it is simple. What bothers me is the difficulty enemy doesn't match their model. The unarmored guys and berets are easy, fair enough. But the heaviest armored guys in the game are just easy to disarm and one-shot with their own weapon. But the second heaviest guys, now they can keep hold of their weapons and require multiple hits and countering just to defeat them? I suppose the last 2 senses are taste and smell. Now, since I do own a physical copy, I suppose I can review that as well. The game kinda smells like dust. It tastes like cheap plastic with ends of dirt. Now, the dirt is well aged, having been in my house for 10 years, but I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. Overall, Assassin's Creed 2 isn't a super challenging game, and of that challenge, it comes mostly from the age of it, where they were pushing the edge of what the game could do. The dialogue has some cheesy lines, and some of the story writing is less surprising than it was intended to be, but Assassin's Creed 2 is a complete improvement from its predecessor. An actual story that you care about, dialogue that's interesting, and it isn't trying to take itself too seriously, even though it has quite a bit of historical accurate tidbits. If you don't mind the age models and want a slower, easier stealth game, then I would suggest picking it up, even if the extra DLC content does just drag the story on. Wait, bad DLC? Ubisoft. I've seen this somewhere before.